Okay, I've been having a look at the idea for making parts of an MG42 out of Unistrut. You can see I've managed to find these three pieces of Unistrut, which are they're approximately 40 to 42 millimeter in width, and yeah, that's the sort of section. The stuff's about 2.5 mil thick, I think, 2 to 2.5 mil. Not particularly worried about what it is or not. Some of it's thinner than other pieces, but I would say these are all the same. Also, what I've done is I've put a line across where I'm going to cut these off. So this part here will actually be, sorry cat, you're gonna have to shift yourself. Right, what I've been doing is this is only it's like a number of my other guns. It's not a perfect replica, it's a facsimile of it. It's not made the same. I'm not trying to say it's identical. Yeah, so basically what we've got here is we've got some Unistrut. They're about, let's see, get a measurement on this. These Unistruts are about 54.5 centimeters long at the moment. Yeah. Now I've marked them all off to be cut evenly, all at the same point, so that we have an equal starting point on all these. Right. So that's the first step. Cut them to all to the same length. Now I've been taking some measurements on the side of this thing, and at the start here, the side measurement, well, there's a little indent here, so I won't measure it at that point. You look there, that's actually 50 millimeters there, or near as damn it. Could be, if you want to be more precise, you could probably say 48. And as you come back here, approximately 48. So we say 48 to 50 millimeters, which equates to near to 2 inches. Now, so we've got this stuff. Now, the idea, what I'd be doing with it is, when you look at it from underneath, this is where it starts to get more complicated in some ways. Whether you're worried about this or not is another matter. Now, back here, sorry, at the front here, this point here is actually around 43 millimeters. Okay, but when you come sweep further back, it then widens out to about 54, 55 millimeters. So that gives you a taper. Now if you want to try and incorporate a taper into the thing, it then becomes a little bit more complicated. So what I'm intending to do is mark this out. As I say, I've got a starting point here, and then what I'm going to do is, one of these pieces is going to be this side of the barrel jacket, which is constant, virtually constant in width. So one of these will be the same width Now the other ones, I'm going to have to think on this, how to explain it clearly. I think the best thing is if I actually just draw the markings out on the side in pen, and then I can explain it better. So, back in a moment. Okay, I'm still not sure if I can explain this clearly, but what I've done is this piece here, this will be the piece which fits in the side of the 42. Yeah, that'll be the side part of it. Now what I've done is I've drawn a line in 10mm in from the edge where the holes are, and this is a parallel line all the way down at 10mm. Now I've done this on both sides. If you can see this, I'm not sure. Yeah, there's a line running down. Yeah, there it is. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this with a cutting disc and an angle grinder all the way down its length. Now the other parts which I've got is, one of these is going to be the top of the barrel jacket. Probably, yeah, I think it's this one. Yeah, that's going to be the top of the barrel jacket. Now this unistrut I've actually measured, and if I measure it across here, this is actually 40mm. Now, so what we need to do is we need to work out how to make this pretty much near to 40mm at this end of the barrel, but as it goes to the rear I'm going to make it to 50. The reason I'm choosing 50 and not 55 is I found this in my shed, which is an old piece of box section steel with approximately a 3mm wall on it. Now it's got these holes which are going right through it. Now they're not actually an important, or they're not actually going to pose a problem to this. So if you look at the MG42 and we position that approximately there, what we can do is I can cut this last hole off across here, and that'll be the back section there. Then where the holes start appearing, that will be the top and bottom of the receiver. And if you look here, this is the top cover which will cover the hole, and it continues all the way down, and the top cover covers this piece of this hole here. Now these holes go all the way through, as I've mentioned, and the underneath holes will all be hidden significantly by the various bits of mechanism. You see that? The real one has a hole here anyway, so by the time I start fixing all this up, these holes being here will actually help when it comes to taking the metal out of the bottom for fitting the airsoft mechanism in. So we then get to approximately this point here where the barrel jacket, the hold section of the barrel jacket appears. So if we use this piece here, which is my side section, and we set that approximately there, you get an idea. We'll probably be wanting to cut this piece off approximately here and cut that approximately there, and then join the two together. So rather than just sliding that inside the 50mm, which would look like that, you could do, if you want to just make a very fast sort of job, you could do that, and just weld it round, you know, just weld round there. But I'm actually going to widen the uni-strut so it flares a little bit and blends in. Whether you wouldn't actually notice the trouble I've gone to in doing this, I don't know, but I'm going to butt them up against the side like that. You can see once you butt this up, you've then got this part here. If I use my rule as a bit of a to give a bit of an idea, you will be able to see that it would taper. I'll just place that on the side like that. Yeah, you see the actual barrel will taper then. This will be the top view and underneath view, showing how it tapers in. Now let's get back to these barrel jackets. Yeah, this here is going to be the top section of the barrel jacket, and what I've done here is I've marked a line 25mm from the edge here out to the centre. Well, what will be the centre, because this is 40mm uni-strut and we're working towards it being 50mm back at this area here. So if I mark this line at 25, that's approximately halfway. By the time they then get joined together, it'll make a neatish looking jacket. Now if you look closely at the real MG42, you can see how it was put together. They actually made the barrel jacket out of two halves, and they've welded it. You can see it looks like it's been arc welded down the side. See? All the way through. All these holes have been welded. Now I'll be using a MIG welder. Yeah. So you can see how it was done. The same on the other side. The receiver was made out of two pieces and welded together. Yeah. This piece here, this is where it gets a little bit messy, but that can be altered later on. You could weld a piece of flat bar onto the side of this to give it extra width around this section. Okay, what I'm about to do now is I'm cutting the sides off the uni-strut with an angle grinder. It's a little bit dangerous if you've not done it before. You know, it takes a little bit of practice to be able to do it quite well. I marked out all these pipes, and basically the rear end of it I realised was making a mistake, and I thought better correct it before I go further. The rear end of this pipe, uni-strut, it's going to be, to the centre it's going to be 25mm, and at the front end where the barrel narrows it's only going to be 20mm. So it goes from 20mm from the side to 25 from the side, so that we get a nice barrel taper. Now this is going to be for the side that we're actually going to cut out and make a larger hole, so it doesn't have to be too accurate when I do that piece. In fact, I may even redraw this and work out all the bits with the hole in before I start cutting that one. The part I'm doing now is going to be the side where both sides are the same. It's going to be, well, in effect it's going to be the side edge. It'll be the, if you're looking at from the rear of the gun, it's going to be the left hand side of the gun when looking at it from the rear. Anyway, got my glasses on, and there we go. I don't recommend anyone to try that unless they're very experienced or probably a little bit mad like I am. And I've been using angle grinders for quite some years, and when you do bite through the metal, they do tend to jump and snag, and you've really got to be very careful when you're doing that. So for someone who's, I've never actually shown that being done on a piece of metal before in any of my videos, and as I say, you've got to be very careful using one of these things. If I was a first time someone going at this for the first time, I would just use an old safe hacksaw. It's going to take you a lot of effort, but you're going to be very safe using it. It's going to be quite tiring, but you could cut all the way down that with a hacksaw, particularly with this piece, as you're going through both sides. Obviously, the trick with the hacksaw blade is most hacksaws you can set the blade at a 90-degree angle by undoing it and taking the blade mountings apart and rotating them, so you can actually put the blade in that plane and cut all the way down the metal, and that would be a safer way of doing this. Right. This is a slightly safer option that you might want to try if you're halfway between total madness and wanting to be completely safe using hacksaw. You can potentially get your angle grinder and you cut just part way into the metal, and so you're actually performing like a scoring down the side using the angle grinder. Then what you do is you get your hacksaw out and you cut the metal off. At the moment I've left the metal longer than it actually will be when it's finished, than my finished piece. Reason being that it holds it together while you're doing the cut, having extra metal on the two ends. Now, if you do the scoring system, cut a slot into the side, then you cut the metal off at the two ends, you can then flex this piece and snap it off. Then once you've broken that piece off, you can then just file or grind the rough edges off. So I'm going to do that next, but I'll have to pause the camera because it's going to take me a little while with a hacksaw. Right, now I actually cheated because the camera wasn't on me for a while. Let's see, is that actual camera pointing at this? Maybe that's better. Yeah, I actually used the angle grinder. Yeah. Anyway, that's the side which I cut all the way through, so that's a piece of scrap. Then what you've got is you've got the side here where I've scored it. So if I put that, I should, in theory, be able to flex this. Like so. Yeah. Backwards and forwards in some way, and eventually break it off. Okay, try a different way. Put that there. And I've got a bit of quite a mess on this bench because I should really be doing some other things and finishing now. Anyway, there we go. That's how you can cut one of the sides out. Yeah. So the theory is I'm going to cut this side off here and then mount that one onto here. You'll see it better when I've actually done it. Then the piece that's in the corner sections I'm actually going to weld up and fill in with the welder. So that you can, yeah, the bits, once these are joined, there's going to be a hollow in the corners, and I'm going to weld that up with the welder and then grind it back into a curve so that you've got the finished shape to it. Okay, you can see from this side now I've started to get this assembled together, and you can see at this point it's wider because this part of the box section is going to be the receiver, which is 2-inch box, yeah, 50 millimeters or 2 inches, yeah. Now this here, I've widened it as I said I was going to do before, so you can see how it's worked out. Now what I've done is I've put some markings which are in the centre of the box in a couple of points here, and well, I did have one up here on the centre of this, so that when I put my rule down the centre of this, where are we? Yeah, when I put my rule down the centre of those marks here, I checked that it was actually to the centre at the top as well, because one important thing when you're making a tapered barrel jacket like this is you do want the actual barrel to be in the centre when it gets to the far end. Otherwise you're going to have this thing leaning one way or the other, and that just wouldn't look right. Now I started welding this in, and then my gas ran out, so it's gone all splattery and bit of a mess, but it'll grind away, it'll grind back. But it's Sunday tomorrow, and I'm not going to be able to get any gas for a while now. Pretty much stuck. So I'll grind that back, see how it looks, maybe take another video and a couple of photographs. Right, I've just quickly gone over this with the angle grinder, but it needs more welding on it to fill in all the roughness and so on, so I can build it up into something a bit smoother. It should start to look a little bit better, more like this part at the end of the barrel here, where I've put a bit more welding in, and I've quickly filed it down, well, ground it and then filed it. You can see by the time I get some bluing treatment on that, it'll start to look fairly okay. This is the other side, the open side of it, where the barrel would have been designed to come out. I made a slight error here. I cut the gap slightly too wide, but that doesn't matter. Wonderful thing about working with steel is you can always fill it back in again with a welder. Now I'll have to open this side out a little bit. It's quite easy to do, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to fit a pipe, a round pipe, in the end of this to simulate the what's it called, the flash suppressor or whatever, the flash hider on the end. And when I do that, I'll open it up and push the pipe in, and I'll MIG weld the pipe in, and so on. Yeah, it's not looking too bad now. I'll just go and stick it next to the real MG42 just for comparison. Okay, here's the real MG42 again, and there's mine next to it. So, you know, by the time it's got all the top covers and various things like that, the sights fitted on it, it's going to start working out not too bad. It looks very different at the moment because the colour of it. Anyway, we'll see how it develops.